Hello everyone, Ryan here. 10 Miles One Way by Patrick Downs is a pretty interesting YA novel, although it's not like your typical YA novel. Even though the two main characters are teenagers, that's really the only part of it that technically qualifies it as being a YA novel. Of course, the main characters are Nest and Q. Nest, she struggles with, I guess, the regular... Well, essentially, she's supposed to have some kind of mental illness, which I want to say it's something like being bipolar. If not bipolar, then it's something pretty much similar. And Q, of course, he's just her best friend. Pretty much the entire novel is just them walking and talking, although Ness does most of the talking. I guess because from a young age, her father actually, because I guess her father also has a similar mental illness, and so he, even before Ness was born, he would go on these long walks, and he found that these long walks would really help him out, help to clear his head, and help to keep his own mental illness under control for the most part. So when Ness was born and she started showing similar signs, her father started going on these long walks with her. And so since then she made sure to keep this tradition going. Except that I guess the older she got, the more she found that she had to, the more walks she realized that she had to go on in order to keep her own mental illness under control. And of course, this isn't really like a plot-driven novel. It's more of a, I guess you could say, character study. Also, an interesting glimpse into the, I guess you could say, thinking patterns of someone who is bipolar, or someone who is struggling with a similar mental illness. It's pretty much like, they just walk and talk, and Ness, she talks about all these different things, talks about her family, her childhood. She also refers to her mental illness as a chimera. Of course, a chimera being this mythical creature that is composed of, I want to say, 3 or 4 different other animals or something. I found that part interesting, how she refers to her mental illness as a chimera, because it's kind of like, it's to her it's this wild animal, but more than just one wild animal, because sometimes she feels really happy and joyous, and then other times very sad and depressed, and then other times very indifferent, like she doesn't really care about anything. And pretty much, I guess you could say, it runs the gamut of all these different human emotions. So again, I like that. I felt that was pretty accurate, her referring to her mental illness as a chimera. She also refers to, I guess, her father's mental illness as something else, much more beast-like. And the writing style is also pretty unique. I gotta say, I've never come across any other novel with this similar writing style. I would say at first I thought it was just, I figured it was just kind of like, well, some parts of it remind me of like maybe something that the author just wrote down spontaneously, but then it's also combined with other parts that I can tell were like at least somewhat researched, and because there's references to like different classic literature, also like Greek history, science, a lot of different topics, pretty much. And I guess that's, that's keeping true to the character Nest, who, is struggling with this mental illness, in which, it's kind of like she goes on these long walks and then talks and talks and talks about pretty much anything that pops into her mind. And, just in this kind of like, I guess to the rest of us, for those of us who aren't, I guess, who aren't familiar with, I guess you could say, the mindset of someone struggling with something like bipolar, for most of us, it would just come off as like some kind of free form, spontaneous, I guess you could say, poetic monologue or something along those lines. But to her, it's just a way of dealing with, with her mental illness. Which in the long run, to me, it definitely made sense. And I guess the only complaint I would have about this is I do wish I kind of wanted Q. I wanted him to say a lot more in this, like have. But I mean, I guess because to me it seems like he's not really. He's I guess more like a supporting character in this. And also, too, he's supposed to be in love with Nest. He has, like, a big crush on her because they've known each other since they were, like, toddlers or something. And also, too, I didn't really like the end because it just kind of, like, they finish this long walk and pretty much just ends. Well, I mean, there's something else that happens, but I don't want to give away too much of that. But I mean, I guess it was okay. Ultimately it worked. I don't know, I guess I could imagine, like, if you're used to novels that are much more plot driven than character driven, you probably won't like this. But otherwise, I would definitely recommend reading it. Also, too, it's a quick read. I mean, I found myself, like, when I sat down and started reading it, I was actually surprised that I was able to get through, like, the first 7 or 8 chapters fairly quickly. Like, I want to say in, like, less than, I don't know, definitely less than half an hour or something. But an hour maybe it was just because, like, I felt some kind of connection with the characters in some way. I don't know, I guess probably because for me, usually when I tend to feel like I'm overwhelmed or like I have too much on my plate, usually I do tend to do the same thing. Like, I go for long walks, and even when everyone else around me is like, for me it's like, it doesn't matter, like, whether I have a lot of stuff going on or if I have absolutely nothing going on. I still like to go for long walks and to clear my head, and I guess just have a certain amount of, I guess you would say, alone time or solitude. I guess ultimately I would give this 4 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5. Again, I kind of wish that it ended a little bit differently, but I don't know, I guess it does work. So So yeah, that'll pretty much do it for my review of 10 Miles One Way by Patrick Downs. Thanks for watching. As always, till next time, don't forget, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.